I'm here with Patty Barron, who's the Director of Family Programs for AUSA, which is the Association of the U.S. Army. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And congratulations on the new job. This is your first kind of all official day, I guess. This is opening ceremonies were today. And so tell us a little bit about what's going on with family programs.
Absolutely. So we're really excited to have the opportunity to be able to provide family forums during the AUSA annual meeting. I think this was started about 10 years ago with my predecessor, Sylvia Kidd, who was the Director of Family Programs at that time. And we just decided that this is a professional forum for the Army leadership and for soldiers. We also needed forums for military family members so that they could get the latest news and the most up-to-date information that we could provide them. This is my first year here, and I tried very, very hard this year to bring the voices of the field to the forum. So we have many spouses that are coming that are going to be serving on panels. We're also focusing very much on resilience and reintegration, because the reintegration piece is one of the main issues that our families are being challenged with at the moment. So we're very excited.
Well, especially as we're winding down our various conflicts around the world, the reintegration is that much of a big issue. And I know from the work that I've done and from being here a couple of years and talking to people in the military all the time that there's a little bit of a disconnect between the family programs that are available throughout the military and what people actually know about. How do you think that the word is getting out? Because you have really terrific speakers. I mean, you have McHugh is here, Secretary McHugh, and you have General Odierno and the Sergeant Major of the Army. I'm going to be talking with him later. But how do you get the information from where the programs are to the people who need to know about them?
That's actually the biggest challenge that I think we all have, is how do we get the word out to the families that need the program that we're offering. I think that the leadership has done a wonderful job of trying to stress that these programs are out there, that programs exist. Not only Army-sponsored or DoD-sponsored programs, but there are many outside the gate organizations that want very much to support and help military families. The problem is, how does a Susie Q. Army spouse hear about a program that is very specific to her need, and a lot of that really is word of mouth. I mean, as an Army spouse myself, I grew up in the Army, over 30 years of service that my husband provided to this country. It was really my neighbors and my friends and my FRG. That's where I got my information. So what we really have to do is target those people that are on the ground that can speak to the relevancy and also whether or not the programs that we're offering really work, because those are the trusted individuals that Army families go to, and that's how we get the word out. We're still struggling with that, I think, but trying really hard. The only other thing I would add is that as we start to finally get the word out, now there's a question mark as to whether or not those programs are going to be available in the future because of the budget cuts. And so that's another fear, is once families discover them, some of the frustration is, I've discovered it, now it no longer exists, or now you changed the name, or now the mission is different. And so it can be really challenging for a family.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you about that, because there has been so much going on financially. There was a little bit of a scandal a while ago, which I know has probably affected the number of people that have been able to make it to this show. But how have you seen or heard a little bit about how the finances are going to affect things? I mean, as the military is cutting back, we're again winding down, but they're also going to be laying off 100,000 or so at least. And so there's going to be a bigger emphasis on programs for people getting out, I guess, right?
Well, I think that's part of the things that's what we're all going to be listening for during these 3 days. What does our leadership tell us? What are they going to share with us? Some of the programs that they think might not be around next year? Are they going to give us a vision for moving forward and how we're going to support military families, Army families in the future? That's going to be something that a lot of people are going to be really listening closely for. But I can tell you that we know that it's coming. It would be unrealistic of us to expect that it's not. That's just the way of the world at the moment. Not only does the military have its challenges, but our nation economically is having challenges. And so we have to be just really realistic about that, and then try to find a common ground. How do we collaborate with those off-post organizations that are wanting to support the military, that maybe have the funding to be able to do certain things that maybe the Army or the military wouldn't necessarily be able to do in the future? So that's going to be an important dialogue to have. But as far as families are concerned and their attendance here at the annual meeting, I was very surprised to see a nice large room full of people this morning at the opening ceremony. So that's a good sign. But we've also, and the Army has done a wonderful job of trying to use new technology. We actually have 200 virtual delegates that are going to be joining us across the United States for our forums. We've got a Facebook page where people are going to be able to post questions in real time, and hopefully we'll be able to get those questions to the people that are asking them from afar. So I think everybody's making a real effort to, again, get the message to the people that really need it. And for me, those are the FRG leaders, the FRSAs, the families on the ground that are wanting to hear what everyone has to say.
Would you talk a little bit more about the technology aspect? Because I've been talking with my colleagues, and I started off doing books and print things, and we're moving so much away from that, and people aren't going to take the time to read. Are a lot of the programs going to a more digital format, or something, a smartphone app or iPad app or something like that, things where they can either be in different places or access the information in a younger person-friendly sort of way?
No, I definitely think that that's what you're seeing even now. I mean, it's already started. There are more apps now that you can download for almost anything, and certainly the military is not behind the power curve on that. There's a few that are really amazing out there, and I think that there is more. Can we find it on Facebook? Is there a video? Is there something that you can download from your computer? That's all important. It truly is. That's how the new generation communicates. But what we can't forget is that the human element is critical to being able to support families. And you're not going to trust an app necessarily unless you know someone who's already used it, someone that can tell you this worked for me, someone that can show you kind of the ins and outs of how to navigate it and why it would be important for you to download. So even though we are going in that direction, we can't forget that human connection and those relationships are extremely important, and we have to remember that.
I think one of your pet projects is having to do with education in addition to the programs. Tell us about some of the educational efforts that you're working on.
Well, besides the forums here, we're also in a partnership with the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. And one of the things that I would really like to see us do is to get more involved in helping educate military spouses and Army spouses on how to not only get employment or be gainfully employed, but how do you keep a career through the 20, maybe 30 years of an Army career? How does that happen? There's been a lot of new things that have come up. There's been a lot of new, the states have really gone out of their way through the Joining Forces initiative that the White House has out now.
There's a connection between the program you're talking about and Joining Forces, or are they parallel worlds?
I think that the MSEP program certainly knows about Joining Forces, and Joining Forces knows about MSEP. But what they've done is I think the leverage that the White House can have on states and to talk about, well, here's some issues that you might not have considered before, has really opened the eyes of a lot of state legislatures. And so now they're making certain things like certifications and licensing requirements that are different from state to state, making it a little bit easier for military spouses that as they move have to go through the brand new process of getting relicensed again. They've been able to do some best practices around there and make it a little bit easier. And so we're seeing more of those kinds of things where states are stepping up to the plate. We had the federal government saying, we have to be aware of our military families and what their challenges are. And then we also have these programs like the Military Spouse Employment Partnership that are out there, obtaining corporate members, working with organizations like ours to get the word out and make sure that our spouses are educated. That's one area I'd like to see us get involved in more. And then the other area I think is I want to make a real push for making sure that the voices of our children are not forgotten. And so what's new on the horizon, what is it that we need to make sure our families know? Because even now, even after 10 years of war, some of the challenges are not any different than when my husband first came in 1980, and that's transition and going and moving and new schools and new friends and new opportunities, to show your leadership skills or whatnot and get that college resume all ready to go. These are things that kids still navigate even today.
You mentioned the part about licensing, and I know that's been something I actually spoke to Brad Cooper, who works with the Joining Forces, and that one of the issues that they're having or trying to push through is to have licensing so that you can move from state to state and still not have to go pass classes all over the place. But education also seems to be an issue because sometimes kids are moving in the middle of a semester and having to pick up and go to a new school. And is that something that you're also taking a look at as well?
Oh, definitely. And I would say education not just for the children, but education for military spouses as well. Because on average, it takes a military spouse a little bit longer to complete their undergraduate work or their graduate work than others that are in one place and can get it all done in one place. So that's important. And then for our kids, I know that Dodia, they're going to be one of our speakers at one of the forums. They have a virtual high school that they're kind of piloting and working with. And so that other, again, technology, other ways for kids to still stay on track as they move. Because let's say you move from Virginia, but now you're moving to Fort Polk, Louisiana. You might not have that the same classes that are offered there. You might not have the same type of I wouldn't say motivation because all children are motivated, but the same type of approach to teaching because it's different in every place that you go. And kids have to adjust to that. And then by the time they get adjust to it, maybe it's been 3 months and they've lost those 3 months, and we need to make sure that they get caught up and are doing just fine.
Patty Barron is the Director of Family Programs for the Association of the U.S. Army, AUSA. Patty, thanks so much for taking the time. It was really great to talk to you.